Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. Before I jump into this video, I'd like to say Happy Father's Day to those of you who are fathers out there. Me, myself, I am a girl dad, so I understand sometimes we lack the requisite appreciation, but this is our day to celebrate. So happy Father's Day to all you gentlemen out there. And then also, if you are new to this channel, this is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, where we always drop boxing related content. So make sure you become a subscriber. And if you are a normal patron of the channel, smash the like button or the dislike button, but make sure that you are engaging with the content. Now, this is an interesting one. Late yesterday after the Richardson-Hitchens fight, shout out to Richardson-Hitchens for a fabulous performance. We'll talk about that today on our live stream, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But what was interesting about my scrolling is I ran across Gervonta Davis's Instagram, and he had a few posts there that I thought were very interesting, and I wanted to come here and discuss them with you. I'm going through his Instagram, and I'm not going to pull it up because, quite frankly, I don't necessarily have the time to do all that. But I do want to focus on one. One of the things that he had here, it says, "Lock in, young gorilla. The struggle you are facing is a test to see if you are who you say you are." Now, I can imagine that this can be interpreted in multiple ways, but myself, I am someone who I believe is social media savvy, and I understand that anything that I say can be interpreted in a way that will be tied back to specifically what I do if I'm in the sport of boxing, or it could be tied back to my personal life. So I am acutely aware of that, and I'm always very careful in what I say on social media. So I'm going to assume that Gervonta Davis has a level of social media savvy. So when you say something like that, that would imply that you're having some struggles, you're having some challenges. You're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're questioning whether or not you are who you say you are, or at least you feel that you have to prove that you are who you say you are. The fact that he mentions the word struggle is the word that I'm focusing in on, and the reason why it can be perceived as having a little bit of self-doubt. Now, we know that Gervonta Davis did not look like the Gervonta Davis we've seen in the past against Lamont Roach. I was on record stating prior to the fight that Lamont Roach was going to be a challenge for Gervonta Davis because at the end of the day, they grew up in the amateur ranks together. They have a close affiliation. Somebody like that has been in the ring with you on multiple occasions. They understand who you are. They understand what makes you tick. They understand your style. And because of that, I always knew that that Lamont Roach fight was going to be a challenge. And subsequent to that, Gervonta Davis received a lot of criticism. Some people saying that they felt that he lost. Some people questioning why he did not get a point deduction when it was a clear knockdown, if you will. And so now, for the first time, it feels like Gervonta Davis is feeling a level of pressure associated with the sport that maybe he has never felt before. And we're now hearing doubt in some of the comments and posts that he is making on social media. And quite frankly, sometimes that could lead to lashing out at different fans, fighters, etc. I personally think that there's probably a little bit of doubt there. And the reason why I say that is because at the end of the day, I mean, we're all humans, right? And when you do something that you don't have the performance that you thought you would. If you're a highly competitive individual, such as myself, and I would imagine many of you out there, you can step back and say, well, damn, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. You know, I thought I had this in the bag, and maybe there's some things that I need to work on. And that's not always a bad thing. Actually, that can be quite the motivator when you figure out that, you know what, there are some gaps in my game. There are some gaps that I need to work on. And most times those gaps, they're highlighted by your failures. They're highlighted by you not accomplishing exactly what it was that you wanted to accomplish. So I think Gervonta Davis may be feeling some of that, right? He did not look like Tank in that fight. He just didn't. And I think he's feeling that pressure. I really do believe that he's feeling that pressure. And now you got people talking about the Keyshawn Davises of the world, the Shakur Stevensons of the world, talking trash about the fact that, you know, quite possibly he was going to face a Jake Paul. That's a lot of pressure from a guy like that. or for a guy like that, who right now is at the pinnacle of the sport and, has everything to lose if he were to lose a fight against anyone. Because, he's going to get ragdoll. He got ragdoll just from the performance of Lamont Roach, even though the fight was technically a draw. One other thing that was really interesting in that post is that if you get to, I don't know, picture 10 or something like that, you'll see that there's a picture of him with Calvin Ford. Now, there's been many individuals that have urged Gervonta Davis to go back to Calvin Ford and not mess around with, I don't remember, was it Barry Hunter who was his trainer for the last fight? I tend to agree with this, honestly. I think Tank needs to go back to Calvin Ford for a number of reasons. Number one, why tinker with a formula that works? He got Coach Kenny over there. He got Coach Calvin Ford. That's been basically his team. Why are we tinkering with it? What is the point of tinkering with it? I don't know what's the personal things that are currently going on between those two individuals. I don't know if there's anything personal going on between those two individuals. Quite frankly, I don't care if anything's personal going on between those two individuals. But from a business standpoint, from the sport of boxing standpoint, Gervonta Davis needs to go back over there to Calvin Ford. It's just as simple as that. As simple as that. That is the formula that has gotten you here. That is the formula that has kept you there. And there's absolutely no reason to tinker with that formula. And it's the one opportunity we've seen you tinker with that formula, we saw the outcomes that resulted in that fight. Personally, I think we're going to see an improved Gervonta Davis moving into this fight. I think he understands that he's going to have to show some additional wrinkles to his game with somebody like Lamont Roach, considering Lamont has, I would say, as expert as a understanding as you can have of a fighter. I think Lamont Roach has that level of expertise as it relates to Gervonta Davis. And so he's going to always be a challenge for Tank. Tank's going to have to show different wrinkles of his game. He's going to have to take his game to another level. And I think he will successfully do so in the next fight. I get it. We all have doubts. Tank is human. He is no different from anybody else. Some people are going to come to this video and say, oh, man, what you're saying doesn't make sense. And I thought you were a Tank supporter. I am a Tank supporter. There's nothing wrong with having some doubt after a bad performance. And that doubt, that little creep of doubt, can motivate you to be more prepared, better prepared, and ready to take on the task in the next situation. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all if, in fact, he is having a little bit of doubt creep in as it relates to the Lamont Roach fight. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section in regards to this particular fight in this particular video. Do you believe that this is a sign of a little bit of doubt coming from Gervonta Davis, or is he just posting to social media? Hey, personally, again, I believe that he's acutely aware of what can be interpreted from his post. So it is what it is. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and I am out.